All right, what's up, guys? Vivi back with another video, another deck tech video. We're going to be going over Queen today. Now, unfortunately, so for the first video I did on this deck tech series, where we're following the meta, where we're going to be, I'm going to be updating these as soon as new decks come in, right? At least as fast as I can. And this first one, or the first one we did was on Rebecca, and in the past 2 weeks, there's been about 4 first place recordings, or I think it's like top 16 recordings. I think the ones I looked at were all first place. I try to only grab first place decks, but sometimes I do like to feature. I will want to feature decks that don't make first place if they're interesting. So with that in mind, we gotta how do I say it? We're gonna have to pick and choose the good decks, but we still want to really look at the decks that win, right? Long story short, we do want to feature the decks that win as being the primary focus of these deck techs, because yeah, we want to make the decks work. We want to have the best. We want to get the best we can out of these decks. Okay, so let's get into the Queen stuff here. This is again, there's only 2 of these Queen decks so far in the past 2 weeks, unfortunately. So we're only going to have 2 just really solid examples. This one and and this one. Excuse me. They're very similar, but we have a lot to talk about. So let's talk about this one first. This one was recorded on 6/17. Okay, so we're running Queen, 4 Sanji, the 2K, 3 Charlotte Crackers, 1 Katakuri 8 cost, 4 1 cost Trafalgar Law blocker, 4 Dracul Mihawk, the big one, 9 cost, 4 Don Quixote do Flamingo, the 3 cost, 4 Perona, 4 Capone Gang Beige, the 2K counter, 4 Yamato, 9 drop, or 9 cost, 3 of the Sanji, not the 2K counter, however you want to say that, 4 of Pound, 4 Sogi King, and then 4 Red Rocks, and 3,000 Worlds. Okay, so the thing about this deck in particular, the blue-yellow deck, not necessarily this exact one, is you have a lot of control. You have a lot of just flat removal, right? For example, 4 Mihawks, 4 Red Rocks, 3,000 Worlds. That, and I'm not even talking about Katakuri or Yamato. That's kind of, I consider that something a little bit different. It's removal, but it's not the same as just, okay, bottom deck a character, right? That is very powerful. Let's see. And also, Pound, Katakuri, and Yamato are kind of in the same vein to me, where it's like, I know Yamato is just a straight-up KO, but for those who don't know what Pound is, he's the 3-cost guy down here at the bottom. He's a blocker, first of all. 3-cost, 3K blocker, 1,000 counter. Excellent. That we know all about that if you've watched my videos. The 3-cost, 3K, 1K counter blocker with an effect is almost always a winner. You know what I mean? And his effect is on KO. So, he's blocking, right? And then he gets KO'd. Add up to one of your opponent's characters with the cost of 3 or less, the top or bottom of their life cards face up. So that's what Katakuri is, right? For those who don't know, the guy right above Pound, Charlotte Katakuri, he's an 8-cost 8K who has on play put up to 1 character with a cost of 8 or less on the top or bottom of its owner's life area face up. So, the idea is you're removing their tempo off the board. Whether you're putting it into their life so you can deal with it later, thanks to cards like Charlotte Cracker, or if you're doing it with or if you're removing the character completely from the game, realistically, you're removing them from the game with Dracul Mihawk, Red Rock, and 3,000 Worlds. The deck has a lot of blockers, so it's very defensive, because once it reaches 9 and 10 Dawn, man, it becomes a real staying power, a real staying monster. So unlike blue-black, blue-yellow can gain life. And notice they're not even running Big Mom. They don't need to. It's not necessary. In fact, they don't run any 10 drops because Queen, the leader, has a 1-cost ability. Well, it's not, it's you attach 1 Dawn to Queen so that she swings, so he, she, whatever it is, they swing for 6, right? And when attacking, I'm just going to read it real quick for y'all. If the total number, so we're doing we're doing addition. If the total number of cards in your life and hand is 4 or less, draw 1 card. But if you have a character with a cost of 8 or more in play, right, you may place up to 1 card from the top of your deck on top of your life instead of drawing a card. So that's for only 1 Dawn activation. You literally just Dawn 1 on the character on the leader and attack, and then you do this. So you want to be around 1 to 0 life at all times, so that you always kind of have this going. Unless your opponent's life is starting to slip down, then you can start to go up. Or excuse me, I said that wrong. I'm getting her confused with Yamato. Or him, whatever it is. I don't know with Queen. I don't watch the anime. I'm sorry, guys. If the total number of cards in your life and hand is 4 or less. So you want to stay low with your life because you don't want your hand low. You want to stay around 3 cards in hand and 1 life, right? Or 4 cards in hand and 0 life. So that way you can activate this ability. Because you don't want to go down to like 3. You don't want to be at 2 or 3 life, but have only 1 card in hand so that you can use this ability. That now you're. Well, I don't know. I guess you still could if you want to draw the card, right? So the card is just good. The leader just has an incredible ability. Let's just be honest. no confusion there. But back to what we were talking about. Sorry, guys. I get a little sidetracked sometimes. This leader goes so well into the late game where you're pitching 2Ks, you're dropping blockers, you're dropping big cards, and then you stabilize. You get to this point where you stabilize. You're putting down blockers every other turn. Because, I mean, let's just count the blockers real quick. Okay, we run 4 Trafalgar Law, 4 Doflamingo, 4 Pound, and 3 Sanji. That's 15 blockers. 15. Okay? The only card that's kind of odd in here is the Perona to me, but I get why you're running. I get why they're running it. They want to get to these cards. They want to, they want to cheat cards forward in their draw, right? To get to them faster. For those who don't know, Perona does not draw a card. She looks at the top 5 cards of the deck and rearranges them in any order, returning them to the top or bottom of the deck. So you can even if it's like, oh crap, I really need this one card. I need a Dracula Mihawk, and you look at the top 5 cards, oh, none of these are him, so just put them all on the bottom, of your deck and keep going from there. So it's just very, very potentially powerful effect there. Perona has good searchability. But you're already running 4 of the Don Quixote do Flamingo 3-cost blocker that does the exact same thing. Right? He does his on play is, look at 5 cards on the top of your deck and return them to the top or bottom of the deck in your. So he's literally just. I would consider him just strictly better than Perona. Now, yes, I know Perona still has a search. It's a 1-cost search to rearrange things. But I don't know. Maybe it's fine as is. We'll have to see as things go on. But I personally don't care for Perona in this deck since we already have the Doflamingo. I feel like we're getting a little greedy on the rearranging. Because remember, these aren't cantrips. These don't draw cards. The Don Quixote do Flamingo does not draw you a card. The Perona does not draw you a card. Now, yes, you can use with your Queen to draw cards, but I think you guys understand what I'm trying to say. Now, of course, they are going to try to get it where, beige is the top card when they activate a Queen that goes on top of their life. So the bottom left character down here, beige, for those who don't know, his trigger, he's a 2,000 counter in hand, right? 3 cost 3K, that doesn't really matter, to be honest. He's a 2,000 counter, and then he has up to 1 of your opponent's leader or character cards cannot attack during this turn. That's huge. That's massive in a defensive deck like this. So we do like to see that in the defensive decks, right? That is something we're going for. But overall, I think this deck is really well made. The only thing that I would probably arrange with this deck, I'm not a huge fan of Charlotte Cracker, personally. because think of it like this. Your queen is going to be swinging to get you, you know, how do I say this? You don't want their life to go down early, because Yamato, the card I was talking about earlier, Yamato, who I kept getting confused with, it's hard. I have to read their ability every time, because Queen and her have a very similar ability. So let me read that to you. She's a 9-cost, 9,000 power character with on play, KO up to one of your opponent's characters with a cost that is equal to or less than the total, so we're going to add things, the total life of you and your opponents. Then if you have one or less life, you may add up to one card from the top of your deck to your life area. So that is huge, right? You typically always want to get down to one life as fast as possible. You know, safely, obviously. So that you can activate her, so you can, or not activate, but you play her, and you'll KO one of their characters, and you gain a life. And you just got a 9-cost 9K. That's so massive, guys. Very massive tempo shift there with Yamato. But in order to get the most out of her ability, you need to be at 1 life. Your opponent needs to be at full life. Like, you know, anywhere from like 2 to 3 life and higher. You don't want them to be low on life, or you're hurting her ability. And this is not a blitz deck. You're not going to run your opponent over real quick. It's not doing that. It's not an aggressive deck. You want to stabilize with a board of like Yamato, Katakuri, and Dracula Mihawk. You see what I'm saying? Like, you want, like, okay, so now I've got 3 9Ks on the board, and I've dealt with their side of the board with cards like Red Rock, 3000 Worlds, and I've got like 2 defenders down, right? You always want to have blockers down if you're going to be this low of life. And some 2K counters in hand, by the way. Once you're there, now you can do what you want. So, okay, so now talking about this deck a little more, I get the Sogi King, but I don't like it. I don't like Sogi King. I would rather have another 2K counter there. Excuse me. I keep calling it a 4K counter. I would rather have, in fact, I'd rather have a 4K 1-cost counter. Something like, what's it called? I'm drawing a blank. It's, is it Usopp's Rubber Band of Doom, I think? Let me see something real quick. I'm pretty sure that's what it is. Yeah, events. Sorry, guys, bear with me. Yes. No, that's for 2K. That's a 1-cost 2K. It is Gum Giant Gavel. Well, that one has you may trash 1 card from your hand and then give up to your leaders plus 4K and then mill 2 cards from the top. Or then you may trash 2 cards from the top of your deck. Something like that, though, I guess is all I'm trying to say. I would rather have some type of counter there, or some type of 1-cost, counter, you know, both being counters. I don't think yellow has anything like that just yet. I'm actually going to bring that up right now as we're speaking. So they kind of do in the Narikabura era. I have no idea how to say that, but that's a 1-cost counter. If you have 2 or less life cards, which is what you're going to be going for, right? If you have 2 or less cards in your life area, give up to one of your opponent's leaders or characters minus 3,000 during this turn. See, that's very strong. And of course, the trigger, we know, you may trash 2 cards from your hand. You may place up to 1 card from the top of your deck to the top of your life area. So that's very big. But I'm not a huge fan of the Sogi King. But someone tell me if I'm missing something there. Maybe they're bouncing their own character back to their hand so they can replay it for more effect, like the Doflamingos, the Peronas, cards like that. But yeah. Let's go ahead and look at the next deck. I just wish there were more 2K counters, and I wish Cracker was just gone from the deck, to be honest. I don't think Cracker is very good, because you're not trying to speed up. Like, who cares about Double Strike? Double Strike doesn't matter. If you're trying to get bodies that can just fly down real fast, just for tempo, you know, maybe to help take out stuff on their side of the board, well, you know, just use queen for that. I don't know how else to say it. Bounce them with your cards and use queen to get rid of their stuff on the board, and just counter out with 2K counters. That's my personal opinion on control decks. And control is a deck type that I do like to run. So okay, let's keep going, guys. Let's go ahead and take a look at the second deck. This one came out just one day later. At the time of me recording this, it is 6/26, June 26th. That is 2023. So we are, yeah. This is just all that I was able to find by this day, like on the OnePieceTopDecks.com. So, you know, sorry guys if there's another deck you know of, I just couldn't find it. Okay, so right away I already see the 3-cost 1K blocker Boa Hancock with the trigger. I would literally rather have that over Cracker, and it looks like they did that. It looks like they're running that over Cracker. So let's run through the list real quick. They're running 2 Trafalgar Law, 1-cost blockers, 2 Boa Hancock with a trigger, 3-cost blocker, 4 Doflamingos, the 3-cost, 4. They're running 4 Katakuri. I do like that. The 8-cost Katakuri, 4 Beige, 3 of the Sanji, the 4-cost Defender Sanji with a trigger, 4 Pound. Yeah, Pound is insane for this deck. Only 1 Dracula Mihawk. So they swapped. Remember the last deck we just looked at, they were running 1 Katakuri and 4 Mihawks. This guy's running 4 Katakuri and 1 Mihawk. Okay. 4 Perona, 4 Kaya, 3 Sogeking. Again, we're seeing Sogeking. It's so weird. We'll talk about it in a minute. 4 Yamato, absolutely. 2 Struyson. 3 3000 Worlds. 4 Red Rocks. They flipped the they flipped it on us. Excuse me. Both decks ran 4 Red Rock and 3 3000 Worlds. And then this guy's running 2 Buzzcut Mochis. Okay? And Buzzcut Mochi is main if you have less life than your opponent. KO up to one of your opponent's characters with a cost of 4 or less. So, very relevant. You know, that is very strong. And the trigger is play up to 1 character that costs 4 or less with trigger from your hand. So all around, pretty decent card. And remember, you're trying to take life faster than your opponent in this kind of deck, so you can turn on your abilities like this one. And for those who don't know Sogeking off the top of their head, let me just I'm just gonna read that for y'all real quick. Hang on one second. Let me bring it up so I don't mess it up. Oh, there we go. So for Sogeking, this character also is Usopp. On play effect, return a character that costs 6 or less to their owner's hand, then draw 2 cards and trash 2. So and he's a 1K counter as well, by the way. 7 cost, 6000 body, 1K counter, and then it has that ability I just said. So in this deck, you can bounce back things like, you know, your Doflamingo or your Perona, so that way you can get their effect. Or you can bounce back cards like your Kaya or your Struyson. Struyson, by the way, is... Hang on one second. Let me read his card. I can't read this tiny font. Struyson is on play. You may discard 1 card with a trigger from your hand to KO up to one of your opponent's characters that cost 1 or less. So you can bounce them back to your hand and use them later. Now, he can only bounce back 6... So he can bounce back anything except these big cards like Yamato, Katakuri, himself, of course, and Dracula Mihawk. So other than those, he can bounce back anything else you put down that you need to put down for whatever reason. And yeah, I mean, you know, by the way, using the Struyson and the Kai, you bounce this back chance so you can 2K counter later with them. Or you could just, you know, bounce your opponent's character back. And then you get to draw 2 and discard 2, so you're doing a little bit of a cycle, 2-card cycle. These decks are very similar. This guy got rid of the Cracker, like we were saying, which I 100% endorse. I don't know why you would run Cracker over this 2-cost Boa Hancock, for example, or even another Sanji, right? Because you have to trash a card to activate their trigger, right? If you get Charlotte Cracker off the top, you have to trash your card from the top to get that ability. Okay. So again, I don't know why you wouldn't run this. Now, let's see how many 2Ks this guy's running. He is only running 10. Looks like 10. Yeah, 4 beige, 4 Kaya, 2 Strucin. I say only 10. That's better than the last. The last deck I think was only running 8. Yeah, he was running 4 Sanji, 4 beige. I love the 4 Kaya way better than the Sanji. I don't like the Strucin, so maybe I would actually swap out Strucin for the Sanji 2K counter. But that's really. I don't think that's super relevant. You should not be using these cards other than as 2K counters. Though I will say Sanji, let me read. His is really good. I want to bring up the card over here so I can read it to you. The 2-cost Sanji 2K counter actually has a very good when attacking effect. You put 2 Dawn on him, right? So now he's a 5K. You may add, and so it says when attacking, you may add the top or bottom card of your life area to your hand. And then, oh man, so you lose life, right? No, not with him. Add up to 1 card from the top of your deck to the top of your life area. So he literally says draw a card. That's essentially what this card does. So, okay, I would like to swap that out over the Strucin, but I also understand the Strucin in the more aggressive meta. So, man, there's really an argument for all these. There really is an argument for every one of these. So just run them all. No, I'm just kidding. If you could, I'm sure if they could, they would. But I think this deck is starting to take shape. We're starting to see that, okay, Trafalgar Law as a 1-cost blocker seems incredible. Having these, okay, specifically having Yamato, Katakuri, and Mihawk seem really, really strong because they're all under 10. Like, you don't run the 10-cost Kaido in this deck because then you don't get to use Queen's ability with him, right? These cards, though, the Mihawk, the Yamato, and the Katakuri, you actually get to play them and still use Queen's ability. And you also need to imagine Katakuri as a defensive option as well. Yes, most times you're probably going to be bouncing your opponent's character off the board so that you can survive. But you can also use this on your own trigger characters. Like, for example, Boa Hancock. If you bounce her to the top of your life, and then, okay, well, you just gained a life, right? So they smack into your life. Okay, sure, no problem. And now here's my defender back, so I can defend the next one. That has a lot of. I think you can get a lot of mileage out of that. Same thing with beige. Like maybe there's a turn it's dangerous to play a 2K counter out because they're probably going to try to deal with it. But there might be an instance where maybe you play beige, and then you just bounce them back with Katakuri to the top of your life to prevent an attack turn. I love the Kaya in a deck like this. Love the Red Rock. Red Rock 3000 Worlds in this deck make a lot of sense. In the Rebecca deck, it didn't make as much sense because we have ways of dropping their cost down, right? So Red Rock is almost worthless. We don't really need Red Rock. I don't ever want to say Red Rock is never worthless, okay? But like, why would we run that when we get the exact same amount out of like our 3000 Worlds, right? We get the same, we cover the same distance, the same ground with it, or we can, right? I think 3 Sanji is a little low. I'm going to be honest. The 4-cost 1K 5 the 4-cost 5K blocker with 1000 counter and trigger. Play this card, discard a card from hand, trash card from hand, and play this card. I think that should be a 4 of. Maybe not. So if I were to make any adjustments to this deck, just looking at it face value here, I'm taking out Soji King. I'm going up a Sanji, the 4-cost Sanji, and I'm going up one of each of the Boa Hancock and Trafalgar Laws. I personally would probably go 3-2 for the Katakuri Draco Mihawk ratio. I would go 3 Katakuri and 2 Mihawk, or 3 Mihawk and 2 Katakuri. I think that's a little better, little more well-rounded. I like the 4 Yamatos. The card's incredible in a deck like this. I've seen it go. I've seen it pop off. Maybe not quote unquote pop off, but sustain, however you want to say that. I personally would be taking out the Buzz Cut Mochis because I think 3000 Worlds is just strictly better. I would take out 2 Buzz Cut Mochis for a 3000 Worlds and another Strucin, and I would change the Strucin to a Sanji. In fact, at that point, maybe I go down a Capone Beige. No, you don't want to go down Beige. You want every chance possible of drawing him into your life so that you get that effect. Yeah, that's a hard call. I would maybe go down one Perona for another 2K counter. I definitely would keep the Kaya. So going back to this, guys, I feel like Kaya has to be. You have to fit Kaya in somehow to this. Like after seeing her over on the other in the other deck, Kaya is too important. Because why not just play her? Like okay, think of it like this. So this guy's running 4 Soji King, right? Well, the only reason he's using that is probably for the draw 2, discard 2. Right? Or maybe he's using it for the bounce. I don't know. I just don't know why you need it for the bounce if you're running 4 Red Rocks and 3,000 Worlds. I don't understand. And then you're running 15 blockers. And you need Sogi King as well. And you're running all these Mihawks. You're running, like, I don't understand why you would need this card, Sogi King. If you just need the draw 2, discard 2, which is understandable, that cycle effect is huge. Well, why not just run Kaya? Like, this deck is probably done if you just swap out the Sogi King for Kaya. and like I said, I personally would take out the Cracker, but that's just me. Yellow also has, excuse me, another card like Boa Hancock, and it's a 3-cost, 1,000 defender, 1,000 counter, play this card, trigger. Exactly the same, but it's the yellow version in Charlotte Brûlée. So maybe they need to look into that for the, like, maybe take out Trafalgar Law for a Brûlée. Because Trafalgar Law does not have a 1K counter. Yes, it is a blocker, but a 1K blocker is removable and constructed so easily. So it could win you the game. I'm not saying it couldn't win you the game every now and then, you know, stuff like that. It happens. Excuse me. I just think it's... I just think that there's maybe better options out there. Maybe not, though. We'll have to see. But overall, okay, guys, I'm just kind of rambling at this point. Tell me what y'all think about Queen, you know, what y'all would add. You know, tell me what y'all think in the comment section below, what y'all would add, subtract, or how y'all would fix it, which deck you think's better out of the two. You know, just talk to me down there if you want to. I'll respond as soon as I can. And I hope y'all enjoyed. And if you did, please leave a like and subscribe. And until next time, guys, peace.